Sacerdotus Hangouts, the broadcast that answers doubts about God, the Catholic Church, science, philosophy, and other worldly topics figured out.
Hello, welcome to Sacerdotus Hangouts. After a long break, I'm back here on air, and tonight I want to speak on the year of mercy, in particular the onset of it, the my experience with it so far, which has been very interesting. As many of you know, a couple months ago, the Holy Father Pope Francis announced that there's going to be a holy year. And a holy year is a special year that's dedicated to a certain theme. And during this year, indulgences are available, applicable in, in certain circumstances. And for those of you who don't know what an indulgence is, it's pretty much something that removes temporal punishment, or the punishment that each one of us deserves for the sins that we commit. So, what does that mean? When we go to confession, we confess our sins are forgiven, they get washed away, they get cleaned up. But we still have to pay for those sins, so to speak. We still have to do time for that, to speak in a human judicial system way. Well, an indulgence removes all of that. An indulgence pretty much is the merits of the saints and the church throughout the centuries that are applied to specific acts or prayers that we do or say every day. So Holy Year has certain indulgences, and there's two kinds: a plenary and a partial. Plenary removes all suffering, temporal suffering that we deserve for our sins, and the temporal removes some of it. Now, the year of mercy began on December 8th, which is also the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is the day that we celebrate that Mary was conceived without sin. Now, this is an idea that, and I'm going into it just so you could get an idea what it's all about. So I'm not here just throwing out these terms and you're wondering what the heck is he talking about. But the Immaculate Conception is an idea that pretty much came from a Franciscan, Duns Scotus, and he presented the idea that Mary was conceived without sin, that she was born without sin. Unlike us, that we are conceived, we are born in sin. That's why we have all these problems in the world. People, we're all driven to do evil and bad things, and we see this all the time in the news on these people blowing themselves up and around the world, killing the soldiers. NYPD detective from the Bronx was killed there. And God rest his soul. We see the couple in California going to a Christmas party and then walking out and then coming back and shooting everybody up. And the school shootings and all these different things, abortion, and it's just crazy the extent that human beings can go in regards to doing evil and doing bad things and whatnot. But anyhow, the root cause of that is sin, of course. It deformed us, it destroyed our image and likeness that we had of God, because God made man and woman in his image. So Duns Scotus presented the idea that Mary was sinless, that she did not have sin. And at the time, other people argued with him and said, no, she had to have sinned. I mean, she's human. And also, the Bible says that everybody has sinned, all men have sinned. But, and one of them in particular was St. Thomas Aquinas. Ironically, St. Thomas Aquinas was against the idea of the Immaculate Conception. But Duns Scotus proved them all wrong. And he basically presented the argument that since Jesus died for everyone, he redeemed everyone, past, present, and future. The act on the cross, his suffering and death, the shedding of his blood on the cross, was an act that's transcendent of space and time and matter. Then the effects are not limited to one location or one time period. So, in other words, Jesus redeemed everyone even before they existed. And this goes back all the way to before human beings existed. So, in light of that, Mary was redeemed, she was prepared, she was protected from the stain of original sin because she was chosen from the beginning. And you read the book of Genesis, the first 2, 3 chapters, God mentions the woman is going to give birth, and he pretty much threatens the snake, the serpent, that this woman is going to be a problem for him, and especially her offspring. And of course, this woman is referring to Mary, and the offspring is, of course, Christ. So from there, the Duns Scotus developed the idea of the Immaculate Conception. It existed throughout the centuries, of course. The idea was already there, but it gradually came into fruition and eventually became formalized as the centuries passed on. So the Holy Father chose that day to open the year of mercy, and which makes sense because Mary is a symbol of mercy. If it wasn't for her saying yes to God via the Archangel Gabriel, then Jesus wouldn't have been born. I wouldn't be here talking to you now about Catholicism, the year of mercy. We wouldn't have a pope or anything. God knows what would be of the world if Mary would have said, no, I'm not interested. Go find someone else. But luckily, thank God, she said, yes, I'm the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done to me as you wish, as you say. So, because of Mary, we have the mercy of God, the divine mercy, in the sense, in the Christian sense, because of course God was always merciful. But speaking through a Christian Catholic lens, that's what I mean by Mary being the door where mercy, the divine mercy, came into the world from a Christian Catholic perspective. So in this year of mercy, the Pope expects all of us to go to confession, to do good things, help others, especially perform the works of mercy, help the poor, because this Pope is a very humanitarian Pope. Um, Not to be disrespectful or downplay, but he's almost like a social worker type Pope in the sense that he's focused on the needs of the people, the poor especially, and he tried his best to present the papacy as a humble institution that's focused on serving instead of being served. Now, during the year of mercy, all priests throughout the world were given the power, the faculty to forgive all sins, to absolve all sins. And what I mean by that is, in case you're wondering, you're probably saying, well, don't priests have the power to absolve all sins? Well, yes, but there are certain sins that bring about excommunication or automatic excommunication, which means you get cut off from the church. And one of these sins is, of course, abortion. I mean, you're killing an unborn innocent child. I mean, not necessarily you, but I'm just saying you, the word in general, but you allowed the pregnant woman allows, the boyfriend, the husband allows this evil act to take place. And the abortionate, of course, does the act via the instruments and whatnot, and the abortion procedure. So this evil act is horrendous, and of course, something that will cut you off from God's grace, from the goodness that God has to offer via the church. Now, American priests in the United States have the power already, the faculties to absolve these sins that trigger excommunication. But in other parts of the world where abortion is not really an issue, is not really legalized or not, those priests in those regions do not have the authority to absolve those sins. Well, now they do, at least for this year. They can absolve the sins from women who had abortions, um, husbands, boyfriends who were accomplices or pushed for the abortion to happen, and of course the abortionists or nurses who participated in the evil act of abortion. And I call it evil because, I mean, having two beautiful nephews and a nephew and a niece, and teaching children for many years, um, I cannot see how anyone can justify the killing of children at any age, unborn or born. I mean, I just cannot. It broke my heart when I learned of the Sandy Hook shooting, the shooting in Connecticut, where this disturbed young guy just went in and just started shooting kids. I mean, that's just despicable. It's just evil, and of course, when these children are not even born yet, they're just there in the womb, swimming and jumping up and down, leaping back and forth and whatnot, just waiting for that day to be born. And they get torn apart, or they get poisoned or burned alive via chemicals and whatnot. It's just evil. Um, but again, God forgives everything. And this year of mercy is supposed to remind us of that God is a loving and forgiving God. And the Pope had asked all of us, Catholics, and of course the world, those who respect him and listen to him, to be less judgmental, to put mercy before judgment. Uh, because of course, we need judgment in the world, but in the sense of discriminating right from wrong. And what I mean by that is that if you have a friend and he's in drugs or she's in drugs, and you tell him or her to stop, that him or hers is destroying their lives, and you tell them to cut it out, to fix themselves, get cleaned up. Naturally, yes, that's a judgment. You're making a judgment on a situation, but that judgment is good. It's a positive judgment because you want your friend to change. You don't want your friend to die of an overdose and whatnot, or lose his or her career, or drop out of school or whatnot, because drugs trigger a downward spiral. This I have never heard of any case where drugs helped anybody. I mean, even the legal drugs have side effects and do all kinds of damages. So the illegal drugs are, forget about it. They destroy many lives. And coming from New York City, coming from the Bronx, I have witnessed all of those things in growing up and whatnot, and of course, unfortunately, in the family too. People abusing drugs, and they get addicted to it, and they just can't leave it. They get attached to it. So by telling these people, cut it out, stop, get help. We don't want you to suffer this way. We don't want you to die. We don't want to lose you. That's a judgment, but it's a good judgment. It's a positive judgment. So, of course, that's allowed. But what the Pope means is judging people's character. In other words, saying that a person is condemned just because that's your opinion. And we see this a lot with fundamentalists, especially Protestants, and even with Catholic fundamentalists. They go around and they condemn you to hell just because you happen to think differently than they do, or perhaps you're not even following the faith correctly. But these people feel that they are spokesmen for God, and that they already know beforehand that you're going to hell, so they could tell you to your face that you're going to hell. And of course, nobody has that authority to do that, and because only God knows. And a couple years ago, the infamous, whatever word you want to use, atheist Christopher Hitchens passed away. Now, many people asked me when he passed away, after he passed away, and even till today, whether or not he's in hell. And I tell them, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, yes, he was a jerk. Yeah. Yes, he was an a hole, excuse my extreme language. And yes, he was rude. He called Mother Teresa bitch and said other kinds of nasty, slanderous things against Mother Teresa, who, by the way, is going to be canonized next September, God willing. And he said many nasty things about church and about God. He said God is not great and all kinds of um, diatribe and hateful things, angry things. And we don't really know what went through this guy's mind, what was going on in his life that he developed into this personality. We really do not know. And as much as I would like to know, um, it's none of my business. But my business is just to forgive, to love people, to try to teach them, educate them the best I can, whether they want to or not. If they don't, then I just walk away. But with Christopher Hitchens, I can't tell you whether he's in hell or not. I mean, based on the way he was living his life, this indication he might have gone to hell, but none of us were there present the last seconds of his life. I mean, who knows if the last seconds of his life, when his lungs were slowly um, stopping and his vital signs were decreasing, and he had that last moment of consciousness, who knows if he asked God for forgiveness? We don't know. If he said it with a whisper, or he said it loudly, or he thought about it, his inner voice said, I was wrong, or forgive me if you do exist, have mercy on me. We don't know what happened, what was going on in the last moments. So nobody can say that he went to hell or not. I mean, it's just ridiculous to even try. And the Pope said that we had to put mercy before judgment. And in every case, God's judgment will always be in the light of his mercy. And a perfect example comes to mind for me, and that's the the good thief, so to speak, which they nicknamed him. And pretty much, for those of you who don't know the story, Jesus is on the cross, he's suffering, he's dying, and there's two guys next to him. And both of them are instigators, troublemakers, and whatnot. And one of them is, yeah, we deserve it, we're bad guys, and he's not caring at all what's going on. While the other guy is rebuking the other thief and saying, have mercy on me, remember me when you go to your kingdom. So this guy, this thief, this guy who was living a the vida loca, so to speak, at the last moment of his death, he's asking Jesus to remember him, to forgive him. So even though he spent his whole life, he threw away his life being a thief, and God knows what else, because the Gospels don't really go into detail about these guys, but uh, we probably can expect that if he was a thief, he probably did other crazy things. But that last moment of life, he just says, Remember me when you go to your kingdom." And Jesus tells him, you know, "From this day forward, you will be with me in paradise." I mean, how much of a powerful statement is that of God's mercy? This guy, I'm guessing he's probably in his 30s, 40 years old, probably. I don't know. We don't have a age, but I'm thinking, assuming that he was probably in his 30s or 40s, because at that time the life expectancy wasn't that great. So uh, most likely people died in their 30s and 40s back then. So I'm assuming that that was his age. So he had all these years of sin and evil and stealing and whatnot. And just that very moment, Jesus tells him, "You're going to be with me in paradise." So it was like pretty much Jesus said, "Okay, yeah, you did all that. Gone. I forgot it. It's erased. It's over." You apologize. You say sorry. You have faith in me. You put that faith into practice by being contrite, by asking for forgiveness, and okay, it's gone. I forgive you. You're gonna be with me, having fun in paradise. So that's why I mentioned this case of Christopher Hitchens. Is that I can't tell you whether he went to hell or not, because what if he did like the good thief and said, "Forgive me," or if you really do exist, all my life I thought, I preached, I spoke that you did not exist. But if you do exist, sorry. Then, of course, Hitchens would have been saved and gone to heaven despite all those years of his stupidity and argumentation against God and the church, and his attacks against soon to be Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. So the mercy of God is something that we have to really think about, and it's something that I mentioned in my book that was just released last week, last Friday. Atheism is stupid, and I had to clarify. I'm always clarifying because I'm getting a lot of heat about this. For some reason, atheists think that I'm calling atheists stupid. I'm not calling atheists stupid. I'm calling atheism stupid. The concept, the ideology is stupid. And I say that from my personal point as a former atheist. So the book is pretty much me, like the story of me, my life, re-evaluating atheism and thinking, why am I an atheist? I think this, I believe this, yet science says this, philosophy says this, history says this, mathematics say this, theology says this, sociology, psychology, etc., says this. Why am I an atheist? Why am I still an atheist? It doesn't click. So that's pretty much what the premise of the book is about. It's not attacking atheists, it's not calling atheists stupid. It's critiquing atheism. So I had to make that clear because I've been getting a lot of insults and whatnot, trolling from atheists online about the title of the book. And unfortunately, some of them went to the Amazon page and started writing bad reviews without even owning the book. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I find it funny and sad at the same time. The extent to which people who go through to do harm to other people and whatnot. And again, that's sin being portrayed right there. That you become so spiteful and envious that you have to go and attack somebody else's work and just for I mean, what joy are you going to get out of that? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's childish, and especially the fact that the book was released, and then within a half hour, an hour later, there's already a review, and Amazon clearly says it takes 2 days, and right now it's saying it takes 6 days for the book to be even prepared and shipped. Yeah, these people are already reviewing the book without even having it. So, I mean, as a Catholic, I'm just called to, forgive and be merciful and whatnot, and just, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, what am I gonna do about it? And people will be people. Sinful people will be sinful people, and those are just things that we have to prepare and be ready for. Mother Teresa, which I keep mentioning her because I'm excited that she's going to be canonized. She has this long, beautiful poem, which I don't remember by heart, but a paraphrase. She goes through a whole list saying that people may be envious, they may see you do certain things in life. You may build something and they might destroy the next day, and it took you years to build, and these people in a day could knock it down. Um, you could do all kinds of things and people don't appreciate it and whatnot. And then she says at the end, it wasn't between you and them anyway, it was between you and God. So the things that we do are to please God. It's not to necessarily please anybody else. It's between you and God, between me and God. So while we're on earth, we just have to put up with these things, these personalities that are out there, and whatnot, and just forgive them. I mean, it's no big deal. Online, I get targeted a lot, and people post slanderous things and whatnot against me and whatnot. And what do I get by returning hate? What do I get from that? Nothing at all. I'll just become as sad and miserable as these people. So the best thing is to just have mercy on them, forgive them, and just pray for them that hopefully one day they see that they wasted their time with all of this nonsense and whatnot. And hopefully they will mature. And ironically, with the year of mercy, I don't know if this is God testing me or whatnot, but just at the onset of the year of mercy, a lot of crazy things happen. For example, I was having a discussion with a Catholic regarding Muslims and whatnot, and I was pretty much saying that we shouldn't judge all Muslims. I mean, yes, Islam is based on heresy, Arianism, denying the divinity of Christ, of course. It's heretical, of course, or not. But I'm not going to go and tell that to a Muslim to his face or her face. I mean, I'll find a discreet way of letting him or her know that your faith is not exactly kosher, so to speak, in light of divine revelation. Well, while I was having the discussion online on Twitter with this person, this other guy interjected, and this guy seemed a bit strange. I mean, one time I retweeted a story about a kid who developed something to clean the air, and he just replied out of nowhere and said, "Oh, that's just a myth. Global warming's a myth." And I ignored it because global warming is a topic that gets people wound up, just like abortion or a specific political topic or whatnot, economics or whatever. So he tweeted that to me, and I read it and I ignored it. So I'm not gonna get into this now. He's probably one of those right wing guys, and I mean, these people don't see. They just refuse to see the facts of life and the facts of science. So anyway, he joined to the discussion, and he started attacking Muslims and whatnot. And I was trying to diffuse the situation and try to calm him down because this guy was clearly Islamophobic. I mean, he seemed like he hates these people, and sadly, he presents himself as a Catholic. So the guy just flipped out of nowhere, and he started attacking me, and he even posted. I'm gonna try to share it with you if I can. Um, I don't know if you could see the screen that I have, but he wrote right here. He wrote a little angle. He put Sacerdotus with the angle pointing at my pen name, saying it's a liberal atheist, thinks he's a future priest, doubted he's working for the Antichrist and appeasing Islam. Now, that's just crazy right there. That's when he pretty much went postal. And again, I was trying to be what we are supposed to be, Christian, loving one another, loving our enemies, praying for those who persecute us. I mean, these are things that Jesus said. I did not make them up, they do not come from me. These are words that are over 2,000 years old that came from the J Man himself, Jesus Christ. And this guy pretends to be a Catholic, or presents himself to be a Catholic. He has a Vatican flag in the background of his image, and the Nazarene Arabic symbol, which has become popular. And he's pretty much hating these Muslims. Jesus never taught that. Jesus never preached that. And it's unfortunate this guy goes to that extent, that extreme, to attack people or not. So he pretty much said that, and he blocked me. And after a couple of months of following me and whatnot. So I mean, this guy seems like he's not like he seems like he's not up there in the head. And I think I messed this up, but I'll repeat it again. I think the image is showing now on the screen, but this is a tweet I received from this guy, and that's what he says right there. Is a liberal atheist. Um, thinks he's a future priest, doubter. He's working for the Antichrist and appeasing Islam. So in case you didn't see it before, because I'm not sure if it went through, still learning how to use Google Hangout, so bear with me. So that's what he tweeted there, and it's just sad the things that these so-called Catholics and Christians do. I mean, who is he fooling? And especially in the year of mercy, that's not what it means to be merciful. You don't go around attacking fellow Catholics, seminarians, priests, deacons, and condemning them, calling them the Antichrist, or accusing them of appeasing Islam just because they're trying to be Christian, which means loving one another. That's not how it works. When Jesus said to love one another, he didn't mean just the Christians to love one another. He means love everybody, the stranger. And he made examples of this with the Good Samaritan who helped. Well, the priest passed the guy by and ignored him, and the Samaritan goes and helps this guy whose culture really doesn't blend well with the Samaritan. Yeah, he stopped and helped the guy, which means that we have to help one another, even if the person hates us or doesn't get along with us. You have to stop and you gotta help people. You gotta love people. You can't go around condemning people. That's not what Jesus wanted. That's not what Christianity is about. Now, in light of global warming, the Vatican had this light show, which was sponsored by the World Bank. And as many of you know, the Pope had his encyclical Laudate Si, which is probably one of my favorite right now encyclicals, because it's the first time a Pope actually quoted science and scientific journals and whatnot. which is something on usually a pope quotes from other popes or saints or other documents from councils, and of course the scriptures and whatnot. But this document, he's actually quoting from scientific sources, which was shocking to me. It was like, wow, the church has really come far, and which is good. And being a student of the science, I mean, that's like a nerd moment for me. Anyhow, the Vatican allowed this display of lights on the facade of St. Peter's, and they pretty much show different animals that are on the endangered species list, and they show some images of people, poor people, how people live in certain parts of the world or not. And the whole light show is pretty much based or correlates with the Laudato Si document. Whoa, I couldn't believe so much hate that came out just for that display. On Twitter, many people were attacking the display, calling it profane and whatnot, and and just posting all kinds of silly statements. I mean, attacking the display of lights and whatnot. And I just found it strange. So this person who followed me forever um, since I started my Twitter back in 2009, I believe, she posted that it was profane and whatnot, and all these tweets and whatnot. And I responded saying that I didn't see any problem with it, and she just flipped at me. She just got upset. She flipped at me. I guess she felt like I contradicted her, or I don't know what happened. But clearly there was a problem there with ego. I guess she figured that everybody in the world has to think like